What's up, guys? This is Carter Thomas with Coin Mastery TV, and make sure you go to coinmastery.com/invest, join the newsletter list, get some free emails, especially if you're getting started or want to learn more about getting started with this cryptocurrency financial revolution. Now, today we're talking about a good friend, Bitcoin, the big bounce from last night, I guess, in the wee hours of the night. I want to also try to give a little perspective by looking at the gold historical chart. I think you guys will find that really interesting. Take a look at a few of the other coins, just a snapshot. I want to dig into a realization about what's going on with crypto that is definitely unpopular, even polarizing, but very important. And so I would encourage you guys to stick around. And then finally, a couple pieces of news and what it may mean for the overall ecosystem. So welcome and thank you. And right on. So last night we had a bit of a bounce. I'm looking at Bitfinex's 1-day chart. And for everybody who's, you've talking about how we've been looking a lot more at technical analysis, talking about trading recently, I'm going to get to that, which I would encourage you to stick around for. If you're on the podcast, probably listening in the car on the way to work, something like that. You'll hear about that. But you can see how we had a bounce, came up, had a couple of really big boosts, and then now it's dropping. Now, what's really interesting, I'm not going to get into the technicals right now, this, is that a lot of these huge bars that you see as they're built out actually don't have nearly as much volume. So if you get the volume profiles, which we can do at another point on the side, and you look at these compared to the bounces and to the tops, for example, there's actually not a lot of volume that's driving huge price spikes. What does that mean? It means that there's a lot of leverage being used in this market right now. So there's a ton of people that are using Bitfinex or BitMEX or whatever, and a lot of the price action. That's why you're getting huge swings, huge suppression. A lot of people trying to buy the bottom and go mega long or short it very aggressively in an attempt to make a lot of money. That's a very, very high risk behavior, but you can see that start to play itself out. As that starts to fade away, which it should, if not, we'll cross that bridge. The spot price should go up, meaning the price of Bitcoin should rise as this leveraged activity decreases. But in the meantime, we did cross the trend line, and we did confirm across the trend line on a pretty significant time frame. So we did have a bounce. This was not a bounce that was overly impressive, I guess is the word. So, keeping an eye on what's going on with the price. I'm not convinced that this was the bottom. Then again, I'm rarely convinced that there's only been a few bottoms that have been very clearly apexes of volume and spikes back up. So going to keep a close eye on this, but there still is a lot of selling pressure coming into the Bitcoin market on Bitfinex and other margin platforms, Kraken, Poloniex, Bitfinex obviously being one of the biggest. Okay, so that's where we're at. I'm not going to get too much in the details because I know that there's better things that we can talk about. But for all intents and purposes, if you are like a long-term regular investor in this, if you're playing the long game, that's kind of what I mean by that. You want to wait for confirmation on this. You want to wait for a daily candle to basically be bullish engulfing, and then start to watch the price. That's what happened a couple days ago here, but then it still broke down afterwards. So you watch the bullish engulfing candle confirm. If it breaks down, you get back into your position and go from there. Okay, now here's something that I really wanted to show you guys that I thought was super interesting. Let me see if I can get this to look right. So we're looking at the Bitcoin dollar chart right now. And let me, I'm just going to remove this just to get a bigger screen. If anybody's listening on the podcast, I'm just looking at the Bitfinex daily chart. Now, I want to show you what gold looks like. We looked at this a couple of months ago. Okay? So if you look at gold, this is a 3-day chart over between 2008 and let's call it 2000. I mean, it gets up to now, 2018. And then you look at Bitcoin, and you switch back and forth between these two. Let me see if I can get this just right. Now, this is a visual thing, so if you're listening to the podcast, I would encourage you to go check it out. But do you see? Okay, so it runs up. It has this second peak. It comes down. It has this kind of Wyckoff method accumulation thing going on with like spikes, and now it's off to the races. Look at what's going on with Bitcoin. Big spike up, second peak, come down, has a run up, and now we came down, right? And now we're probably going to go through an accumulation phase. Hopefully, this is kind of a wishful thinking scenario. So I would encourage you always to, let me turn off the log and see if that might make it a little bit better. Zoom out, or zoom in, I should say, just to make this look as accurate as possible. And you can see how this is really starting to basically go along the exact same chart. So that means that if this line holds, the non-log line holds, but I guess the same thing, this could easily pop back up. We could go through an accumulation, and then it could break through back on the other side, the same way gold did, and then we go from there. If it follows the traditional bubble chart, which many of you have obviously seen, then we've got a long way to go. And it could go down to, who knows, 3,000, 2,000, and then go through a longer retracement. We'll see what happens, but it's important to look at this because by no means is like all hope lost that we cross that trend line, no matter what people might tell you. We may still have a very good fighting chance at just popping back up and seeing some slow accumulation over the next few, call it weeks, maybe even months, and then go from there. Gold is obviously a different beast than Bitcoin, but it's important to check that out. So I thought that was just a really interesting comparison. I would encourage you guys to check it out. You can watch a gold price. The 3 days typically a good one. I couldn't do the overlay on this because of the time frames, but you get the picture. It's very accurate if you do a snapshot and then actually put them together in Photoshop. The other one to look at is Litecoin, right? We haven't been talking about Litecoin very much because Bitcoin's really been the name of the game. But I think Litecoin's going to, at least the USD chart, is going to mirror what happens in Bitcoin. And if Bitcoin can hold its levels over the next couple of days, I think Litecoin is going to have a very, very good bounce back, relatively speaking. Meaning, if you want to re-enter and you're looking for the biggest bang for your buck, Litecoin historically has provided that multiplier better than the Bitcoin has. Now, obviously, none of this is financial advice. I'm not an advisor, blah, blah, blah. So who knows if that's what's going to happen. But Litecoin is where you look if you are trying to leverage. It's kind of indirect leverage against the Bitcoin trades. All right? So from a technical standpoint, doesn't look that great, to be perfectly honest. From a macro standpoint, it doesn't look bad because there's precedent for this to not be a complete breakdown. So we'll see who wins. All right. I personally think this comes down. This really is going to come down to bigger. Like if there's no bad news, if there's no huge like bad stuff, we're going to start to look like the gold chart, and then the rest is going to be history. If there is a lot of bad news and we can't get that fire started again, then we're going to probably look like that bubble curve. And that's just my honest opinion. All right. A good litmus test, if you ever wanted to, right? Ask somebody who doesn't really know much about crypto. And when they say, all right, I'm interested in getting a Coinbase account, that's when things are going to start to pick up. But until that happens, we're just going to have more of the same. We're going to have more tech. It's going to be kind of a slow-moving innovation battle against the government. We really just need a mass, not even adoption, a mass belief, believe it or not. So crypto currency market capitalizations down to good old 320. I think we went down to about 317 last night or so. And you can see that there are you're seeing a little bit more green than usual. And that's not saying much, but the altcoins continue to do what they're doing, which is it's just so sensitive to Bitcoin's movement because these movements have been so fast. The other thing to remember is that as we get in lower prices, the percentage changes are much bigger and the dollar amounts are actually still pretty big. So because the way that this volume profile is playing out, the prices are huge. So the percentages, the volatility is getting even more aggressive, which is not helpful for altcoin holdings. This is a really good way for markets to shake out people that potentially shouldn't be holding it to begin with. But we're going to dive back in here. What I will say, Omisego, I love Omisego. I would keep an eye on them because they're starting to put out a lot with their plasma with there's momentum behind them. I can see them starting to make some moves. I own plenty of OMG, just put full transparency. And I would also keep an eye on these top 15, 20 as it relates to some of these new index funds, which I'll talk about in a second, because I think we're going to see more of these get put into index funds. You're going to see a lot more rolled in. You're going to see a lot with Litecoin, maybe with going on Gemini. I think Monero is going to have a great year with the privacy stuff. So start to make some, more considerable bets, because no matter what happens with Bitcoin and with the market cap, at some point, the winners in the altcoin market will start to separate themselves from Bitcoin. It's going to happen. No matter if Bitcoin goes to the moon or if it goes way down, these altcoins will still survive if they solve real problems. Do you see what I'm saying? Like, the companies are all going to start to separate eventually. And knowing or having that portfolio, or at least that idea, it's a good thing to do. Now, let's talk about an unpopular opinion that I tweeted about this morning. Obviously, we've been getting a lot of emails from people that are like, hey, you talk about trading a lot now and doesn't really feel like it used to, and you feel like you've changed. And that's great. I fully appreciate any and all feedback. And I've been mentioning this to a certain extent, but I think this is just such a critical moment. And what I want to start off with before I get into this tweet is a quick example, an analogy. I remember when the iPhone came out. It was like 2006, I believe. And there's one more thing, and Steve Jobs gets up there and does it, and everybody's talking about it. Everybody's got these smartphones, and in the background, someone's like, this is like, is this really what we want? Like, this may be the direction we're going in. And everyone's like, no, that's never going to happen. We're never going to be obsessed with our phones and addicted and staring at our phones and doing tech all the time and being behind the computer all day and always connected. That's never going to happen. And guess what? It doesn't happen. It wasn't like you wake up one day and everybody's just addicted. It's not like Skynet opens up and it just happens. It's a slow and gradual process that matches the speed of adoption and of how it all works. And so as the years went on, people became more and more and more integrated into this. And now, every once in a while, I'm sure everybody here can agree that you wake up and look around, especially if you live in a city, and you look around and you're like, gosh, everybody just is looking at their phone all the time. Like that's just what it is. And everyone's always connected to it. Everyone's always checking it. And I say that as a loosely term. Obviously, it's not everybody, but you know what I'm saying. My point is that it's never immediate. It's always a gradual process. And if you want a really great book, check out the book, Amusing Ourselves to Death. Go to coinmastery.com/store. That's a bookstore I have on Amazon. I'll update it with new books all the time. This is a really good one, all about how demographics and societies change and are influenced by things like this. And the premise being like, many people are scared of the 1984 world. George Orwell wrote the book 1984, which is kind of like Big Brother. When in reality, what may be happening is that we're becoming more like Brave New World, which is also an incredible book. I'll put those 2 books on there too, where everybody's actually just so happy all the time. It's impossible to be unhappy. You have everything you want all the time. And if you ever feel unhappy, you can take some Soma and you go back to normal. And he's saying that it's actually, we're getting closer to that. We're amusing ourselves to death. And that's becoming the thing, right? That's the future. It's kind of dystopian in many ways. But the point is that this stuff happens and it's very hard to realize it's happening until it's too late or until it's already done. Okay, so let's start with that premise. And I think we can agree that this is one of many examples. Over the last, I would say 4 months, I've been looking at cryptocurrency. I am a huge believer in blockchain, cryptocurrency, distributed ledger technology. I love this stuff. And I am absolutely 100% confident that this is going to be one of, if not the biggest revolutions, technologically speaking, financially speaking, over the next 20 years, probably for the century. This is going to be huge. So I'm a massive bull. But during 2017, especially the second half of 2017, everyone was starting to say, like, the big money's coming, but so are the sharks. So are the algorithms. So is the high frequency trading. If you want a great book about that, go read Flash Boys, by Michael Lewis. Incredible book. But everybody's like, man, it's going to get more competitive. It's going to change. It's not going to be easy money forever. And it's like, oh yeah, well, whatever, because we're making so much money right now. Who would ever know? And then we get into, let me pull this back up here. You get into the kind of the bear market, and the same psychology starts to happen. Everyone's like, oh, well, I'm just going to hold on to it because long term, this is going to go great. Meanwhile, the ecosystem is shifting. New players are coming in, and it's not bankers that are just being like, all right, we got to put $100 million in. Let's go on GDAX. Let's go buy it. And the price goes up to $600,000. When in reality, what happens is they're all getting in, but they're all getting in to win. They're all getting in to play the game and to win the game. It's getting more competitive. And I'm not saying that in a negative or a positive way. I'm saying that in like, people knew this was going to happen. It's happening. And yet it's not like there's no there's no course of action. People are just like, oh, well, that's just how it is. And I've kind of wrestled with that for a while because it seems like a betrayal of an ideal, when in reality, it's more of just an acceptance of what's going on, of realizing that this is not a everyone's here to, like, we're all on the same team, we're all trying to help each other out. This truly is an us versus them situation where people are coming in and they are trying to take your money, trying to take our money. And as we sit there and every day we watch this go down and we watch our, everything just decreasing. And like, obviously if you measure things in Bitcoin, that's fine, but still, like, if you own altcoins, like, your amount of Bitcoin is going down. If you measure it in fiat, you're definitely going down. And it's just kind of like this, hey, just hold on. We're going to hold and we're going to wait for the future, and it's going to go big. And, no matter what, it's all going to work out. And what I've realized, or at least what I've accepted personally, is that while that may be true, that's not what's happening right now. What's happening is that there is blood in the water, and that people want to come and get that money. They want to get that Bitcoin for themselves. They want to control. They want to win that game. And this is why I've started learning about technical analysis and trading. And it's been an incredible learning experience. I've had a lot of fun, but two, I was sick of watching my portfolio drop by a lot of, by thousands and thousands of dollars. So I learned how to do this stuff, and it completely changed how much my bank account or the amount of crypto I had, the numbers started to change. It didn't reflect what was going on here because I finally had control. I took control of it. Now, obviously, not everybody can do this, but what I will tell you is that if you have this idea that no matter what, it's all going to work out, and I'm not open to any other anything else. It's either going to the moon, or I'm not interested. I don't know how to tell you, but that's just not how these markets work. Realize there's billions of dollars on the line for the taking. People are going to get that money. And if you can have a kind of a passive role and hope it works out, or you can get an active role now so that you can control that you are on the upside, that you win down the road. And I think that that's just, it's such an important thing. There is no guarantees. There is not guaranteed that Bitcoin or Litecoin or Ethereum or Monero or whatever coin you own, there's no guarantees that it's going to go up, it's going to go down, or it's even going to exist. And if you don't have some level of control over that, or at least control over that idea, it's going to be really difficult. Now, there's a lot more that goes into that, position sizing and, choices, lifestyle choices, but it just is what it is. I don't BS people. Certainly don't BS you guys. I tell you how I see it, and this is how I see it. And so it goes. And the best thing I can do is help you guys get educated. I've got some great guys I've been learning from. I'll let you know about that probably tomorrow, that have been helping me out a lot. Some really, really amazing education tools, stuff like that. But just like I said, the tweet basically says, for anyone listening, it took me a long time to accept that crypto is not investing. It's speculation and even gambling. You're playing a video game more than you're analyzing the stock market. Eventually, it will be investing. But until then, play the cards you are dealt, not what you wish them to be. Okay? Look at what's going on right now. Look at the dumps. Look at the algorithms. Look at the bots. Look at what's happening right now. And make decisions on that and contrast them with what's going to happen in the future so that you can make informed decisions. I am making a decision that I still have plenty of long-term investments, but I am not going to sit around and watch my portfolio just disintegrate while algorithms and professional traders try to take it from me. It's not going to happen. So I'll leave it at that. Second last, and maybe most exciting, is the Lightning Network is going to come out today. If you don't know, Lightning Network is, debatably more centralized, but not really. It's just kind of like a layer on top of Bitcoin, a node layer that creates extremely fast transactions and connection times. This can solve a lot of payment issues, some security issues, maybe not security, but it makes it so that many of the block issues, the big block size or the small block size of Bitcoin Core, can hopefully be solved, especially with something like SegWit, which batches transactions through the tech. This is going to be very exciting to see how this changes the adoption, because now it becomes much more viable to use Bitcoin inside applications, inside payment protocols, inside software, inside companies, things like that. So this could definitely affect price over the long term if this indeed becomes the default winner. And the reason why this would increase price, and this is important, right, from an economic standpoint, it's because Bitcoin would now solve problems that many other altcoins are trying to solve, right? If Bitcoin all of a sudden is now a very, very fast, immediate transaction settlement layer, other currencies that are trying to do that may get rolled into Bitcoin's market cap. That is why price could increase more than anything else. So when you always want to understand where the cash is going. So we're going to wait and see. Charlie Lee tweeted about this, or he tweeted last night, he retweeted something big is coming tomorrow. And the thing that he retweeted was when Coinbase went on, or when Litecoin went on Coinbase for the first time in 2016. So everyone was like, oh, maybe it's going on Gemini or whatever it may be. In fact, it looks like it was probably Lightning Network because Litecoin's been running Lightning Network for a while. So this is going to be really interesting. It's a beta for now. And then they're going to start to release a lot of other pieces of the puzzle, but very exciting stuff for Bitcoin, for the Bitcoin community, especially for the tech world. This is the beginning of the consolidation phase. You are going to see a lot of coins get consolidated over the next 12 months as these technologies start to emerge. All right, so plan accordingly. Lastly, I thought this was cool. Abra, which is it's like a wallet for your phone. I guess it's just a wallet. You don't have to use it on your phone. They are releasing an index fund as well, similar to what Coinbase did, what Crypto 20, and there's a couple other ones that are out there. And it's obviously a trend. And like we talked about last time, this is going to be a very, very big catalyst for people to get into crypto because it helps assume a lot of risk, relatively speaking. So keep an eye on this as a trend. I think that this is, the more we see, the better, until we get into ETF world, which is that's when like things get really big. But until then, these index funds are a big deal. I think that this is going to be very, very exciting. So a lot of covered today, a lot of interesting stuff. I obviously always welcome your guys' feedback, but I can't stress enough, like, play the cards that you are dealt. It just do not accept the fact that I've learned in life, the more you have to say, well, that's just how it is, and it means that you have to accept something about life that you don't really like. That doesn't have to be that way. And if you feel that way about your portfolio, about crypto, about anything, realize that there's something you can do about it. There's always something you can do about it. And for some people, keep doing what they're doing. But I know for me, I'm gonna do something about it. I'm gonna start trading. So with that, I hope you have a great day, and I will catch you tomorrow. All right, peace out.